Hello! Today my friend and I are going to be attempting to walk the C&D Canal Trail. It's about 14 miles from Delaware City, Delaware to Chesapeake City, Maryland. Keyword, attempting. So follow along, why don't you? We'd love to have the company. Welcome to Delaware City, population 1,800. I'm along the Delaware River and you can see Pea Patch Island in the distance, home to Fort Delaware, which was used as a Confederate POW camp during the American Civil War in the 1860s. Pea Patch Island is now owned by Fort Delaware State Park, which I think we are technically on the property of right now. They run ferries to and from the island, so you can go visit it if you want to. Delaware City was laid out in 1826, and just 3 short years later, in 1829, the C&D Canal was built. When Delaware City was being laid out, it was expected to rival Philadelphia as a major port city along the Delaware River, which never really happened, but its location along the C&D Canal was advantageous to it. Right there, it's a fort. So what is the C&D Canal? It stands for the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal. It is a shipping canal that connects the Elk River, which is a tributary of the Chesapeake Bay, to the Delaware River. So originally, if you were a ship and you were trying to get between the Chesapeake Bay and the Delaware River, you would have to go down around the Delmarva Peninsula all the way around the eastern shore of Virginia, which pretty long trip. Pretty early on, people realized that the Chesapeake Bay and the Delaware River aren't actually separated by that much land in some places, so they started planning a canal. The canal was first built in 1829. It was 14 miles long, and it cut off about 300 miles from a trip from Philadelphia to Baltimore, because now you don't have to go down around the Delmarva Peninsula. To this day, about 40% of the ships that go through Baltimore go through the C&D Canal at some point during their trip. The C&D Canal is also the informal boundary between the more urban northern part of Delaware and the more rural southern part of Delaware. The C&D Canal has been expanded several times over the years because ships have gotten bigger, there's been more traffic, collisions were not uncommon at certain points in time. Originally, all of the bridges that crossed over the C&D Canal were drawbridges of some sort, either swing bridges or lift bridges, something that would open up to let ships through. But over time, as the canal expanded, the bridges had to be replaced. At this point, there are no more drawbridges for cars, at least, that cross any portion of the canal. The last car drawbridge that crossed any portion of the canal was removed in the year 2018, and we will see that in a minute. So originally, 1829, canal's first built. It is 14 miles long, 10 feet deep, and 66 feet wide. In the 1920s, it was expanded to be 12 feet deep and 90 feet wide. In the 1930s, it was expanded to be 27 feet deep and 250 feet wide. And the last expansion took place between the 1950s and the 70s. It's where it is today. It's 35 feet deep and 450 feet wide. Right now we're walking along Canal Street along the Delaware Ship Canal, which is technically a portion of the C&D Canal. It's a little branch off of the main section of the C&D Canal. And it's abandoned for large ships anyway. It's been abandoned for many years. This little bridge right here is the former drawbridge that I was talking about a minute ago. It crosses over the abandoned Delaware Ship Canal. And it was a drawbridge until 2018 when they finally replaced it with a fixed span because, like I said, abandoned for ships, there's no reason that this bridge would have to move anymore. In the distance, you can see the start of the Reedy Point Bridge, which carries Delaware Route 9 over the C&D Canal from Delaware City on the north side to the salt marshes of Augustine Wildlife Area on the south side towards the community of Port Penn. This bridge was built in 1968. It has 135-foot clearance and it's almost 2 miles long from end to end. Over there is the Reedy Point Bridge. And this is the official start of the C&D Canal Trail. A portion of the C&D Canal Trail is called the Michael N. Castle Trail for the portion that's in Delaware, named after a former Delaware governor. And the C&D Canal Trail from end to end, from Delaware City to Chesapeake City, was completed relatively recently in the year 2017. We are under the impression that it's paved the whole way, and so we'll judge if it's accessible also, and we will let you know if it is or if it's not, and yeah, good luck to us. We're a little less than a half mile on the trail, and we have come up to the African Union Church Cemetery, which is mainly an unmarked cemetery at this point. There did used to be a church on the grounds. The church and the cemetery served a free black community that lived in this area in the mid-1800s. At some point, I'm not exactly sure when or why, but the church was razed and the cemetery kind of fell out of use and was almost enveloped by the marsh. And 30 years ago, a group of kids were playing in the marsh and they kind of stumbled upon the cemetery, rediscovered it, and since then there have been a lot of major restoration efforts. Here's a better shot of the Reedy Point Bridge. On a clear day, you can see this bridge from some of the skyscrapers in Philadelphia, and on a clear day from the top of the bridge you can see points in 4 states: New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. We've just about reached the point on the trail where the Delaware Ship Canal that we've been walking along and the main portion of the C&D Canal meet. So as you can see, the main portion of the C&D Canal is much wider than the abandoned Ship Canal, 450 feet. Quick disclaimer, I'm honestly not sure if the name of this community is pronounced St. George's or St. George. So I'm just gonna say St. George's, and if I'm wrong about it, bully me, I guess. We're around 4 miles on the trail. We're coming up to the community of St. George's, which is a small community that was settled in 1730. So it predates the canal pretty significantly and was divided in half by the canal. So there is a northern portion of St. George's on this side of the canal and a southern portion on this side. St. George's was incorporated as a town in 1825. Then the C&D Canal was built, and as the canal was widened, the bridges ended up bypassing the town completely. In the year 1940, St. George's had its town charter revoked. This is the St. George's Bridge, which carries US Route 13 over the C&D Canal. It was opened in 1942 and built to replace a former lift bridge that crossed the canal here, actually in town, that was struck by a ship and destroyed in the year 1939. So in the 1990s, this bridge was deteriorating pretty significantly, and this was the main road that crossed the canal. So they built the William V. Roth Bridge, which is the bridge you can see behind it. After the William V. Roth Bridge was opened, there was plans to tear down the St. George's Bridge, but those plans were opposed pretty heavily. A lot of that opposition came from the residents of St. George's because this was their bridge that they used to get to the other half of their town. It did end up getting rehabbed and it's still standing today, but to this day there are still some structural issues with it. It used to be a 2-lane road in either direction, and somewhat recently the outer lanes have been closed to limit the weight that's on this bridge, and those outer lanes are now bike lanes. This bridge has a 135-foot clearance and is 4,200 feet long. Also a trailhead with bathrooms here. Here's a closer shot of the William V. Roth Bridge, which carries Delaware Route 1 over the canal. It was built in the year 1995. It has a 138-foot clearance and is 4,650 feet long. It's a cable-stayed bridge, which gives it a pretty distinctive appearance, and it is the first cable-stayed bridge to be built in the Delaware Valley. We're right around mile 7 on the trail, so this is very close to the halfway point, and this is the C&D Canal lift bridge, which carries the Delmarva Central Railroad across the canal. It was built in 1966 after this portion of the canal was expanded for the last time. It's the only remaining drawbridge of any sort that crosses the canal. Its default position is the open position like this, so ships can pass freely. If a train is planning on crossing, they have to give a half-hour notice to the operator to open the bridge. And I'm very happy that we got to see a train crossing and we got to see the bridge lifting up a little bit. It moved so slowly I could barely tell that it was moving. Stopped at Grain for a beer. We were actually here last night as well. So Grain is not exactly located on the canal. You definitely have to go up a little bit off of the canal to get here into the Summit Marina. So it is along the trail. It's not necessarily along the canal anymore for this little portion. So the C&D Canal Trail so far has been paved the entire way. And the slopes, for the most part, were pretty reasonable.
The portion of the trail that has been difficult to handle from a accessibility point has been past the rail bridge. As you get up to the marina, there is a pretty steep incline in the trail, and so that has been a little bit more difficult to deal with.
Hello, it's me from the future. I just want to interject here because at this point in time we were still under the assumption that the trail would go back down to meet the canal and then stay there for the remainder of the trail. That did not happen. There were 2 more times where there was a very steep incline and decline in the trail. I just want to point that out now. Okay, back to the video. We're around mile 9 and we are at the South Lums trailhead featuring bathrooms. This parking lot is near Lums Pond State Park, which is an 1,800-acre state park featuring Lums Pond, which is the largest freshwater pond in Delaware. Lums Pond was originally built as a water supply for the locks along the canal. A lock is basically a box that a ship would go into, and you would raise or lower the water level in the box to raise or lower the ship to get on and off the canal. There are no more locks along the C&D Canal, and Lums Pond is now owned by the state of Delaware. Lums Pond State Park features activities such as hiking, boating, fishing, camping, everything. Look at this wildlife. Wow.
Hi.
Hi. After a quick but steep series of switchbacks, the C&D Canal Trail goes back to canal level. So before the Summit Bridge coming up, the Mike Castle Trail is pointing us this way. To follow the Mike Castle Trail, you gotta go uphill again. We're around mile 10 of the trail and coming to the Summit Bridge, which carries Delaware routes 71 and 896 over the canal. This bridge was opened in 1961. It has 135-foot clearance and is 2,058 feet long. I don't know if you can tell, but this bridge is a beautiful blue color. The trail has once again come down a slope and met back up with the canal. That bridge is where we're ending. It's within reach. We're around mile 12. We're about to enter Maryland, and here the Michael Castle Trail switches to the Ben Cardin Trail, named after a Maryland senator. About 2 miles left to go. Bye-bye, Delaware. Coming back up to civilization. We're coming up to Chesapeake City. In the mid-1600s, a man named Augustine Herman mapped this region. He made very detailed maps of the Chesapeake Bay and the Delaware River, and he, along with other people, had an idea to put in a canal connecting the two as early as the 1600s. His maps were so good and detailed that he was basically gifted as much land as he wanted wherever he wanted. So he had a 4,000-acre plantation in this area and named it Bohemia Manor. So when the canal was first put in here, there wasn't much of a town here. There was a tavern and a toll booth, but not much else. They put in a bridge in this area, and because there was a canal crossing here, a town kind of grew up around the fact that there was a bridge here. Chesapeake City is kind of similar to St. George's in that there is a northern section of Chesapeake City on the north side of the canal and a southern section on the south side, but unlike St. George's, which was definitely one body before the canal existed and was divided in half, Chesapeake City kind of grew up on either side of the canal as two separate entities. Until 1839, this area was known as Bohemia Manor after Augustine Herman's former plantation. In 1839, it changed its name to Chesapeake City in honor of the C&D Canal. And in 1849, when the population of this area reached 400, it was actually incorporated as a town. Another similarity between Chesapeake City and St. George's is that in 1942, the former lift bridge that crossed here, that actually went through the town of Chesapeake City, was hit and destroyed by a ship, and this bridge was put in its place. So this is the Chesapeake City Bridge, which carries Maryland Route 213 over the C&D Canal. It was built in 1949. It has a 135-foot clearance and is about 4,000 feet long. And as I mentioned, this replaced a former lift bridge, and that it completely bypasses Chesapeake City, and after it was built, the population of Chesapeake City and the businesses in it declined. We made it to the end, yay! That's a post office, can you believe it? St. George's Post Office. So it's the future, but I just want to give some final thoughts from the trail. So we did it. We both survived. We were both very tired and in pain by the end. We are still sore, but we're fine in general. Most of the traffic that we saw along the trail was bikes. We saw very few pedestrians running or walking, aside from the areas directly adjacent to Delaware City and Chesapeake City. So the trail is paved the entirety of the way. However, if you are looking for something that's not very steep, our suggestion would be the eastern 7 miles of the trail or the western 3 miles of the trail. So along the eastern 7 miles of the trail, it's pretty much from Delaware City to the rail bridge. That is all pretty flat. There are 3 access points along that portion of the trail: Delaware City, Biddle Point, and St. George's. So our suggestion would be to maybe go to and from one of those 3 access points, or also you could do an out and back hike from one of those access points to the rail bridge and back. Along the western portion of the trail, the access points are spaced much further apart. Our suggestion would be to start at the Chesapeake City access point and go up to 3 miles eastward along the trail and then just back to Chesapeake City. If you're looking to do a pretty flat portion of the trail, we would recommend avoiding the access points at the Summit Marina, South Lums Trailhead, and there's also an unmarked trailhead along an unpaved road that we would recommend avoiding because those 3 access points are kind of surrounded by very steep slopes. I'm going to be throwing in some little maps that show the different access points and also some profile views to give you a better idea of what the trail is actually doing. So yeah, this was fun. Thank you so much for following along, and I hope to see you all soon. Goodbye.